For centuries, humanity has been conditioned to believe that life happens to them, that events are random, that success belongs to a chosen few, and that destiny is written somewhere outside their reach. People were taught to chase, to struggle, to earn through effort what was never missing in the first place. They were told to pray for what they already possessed, to seek love, peace, happiness, and abundance in a world that merely mirrors their own vibration. This belief quietly shaped entire civilizations, birthing generations of seekers who spent their lives asking the wrong question, not how to find what they desire, but why they believed they didn't already have it. The truth is disarming because it dissolves the illusion of distance. The law of attraction is not a mystical theory or a philosophy to be debated. It is a living law that operates in silence whether one acknowledges it or not. It is as constant as gravity, as immediate as thought. Every word you speak, every emotion you sustain, every idea you repeat, becomes the blueprint of your reality. The outer world is not separate from you. It is the echo of your internal state, the visible face of your invisible vibration. Since childhood, most people are taught to observe the world as cause and themselves as effect. They believe that circumstances shape them, that events define them, that external forces dictate their worth. But this belief reverses the natural order of creation. The truth is the opposite. Consciousness precedes experience. Every event, every relationship, every form of abundance or lack is a reflection of an inner assumption held long enough to become stable. The law of attraction is not a technique. It is the structure behind existence itself. It does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. It does not hear words. It reads the vibration beneath them. When one says, "I want peace," the universe does not interpret the sentence but the frequency behind it, often a vibration of absence, of not having peace yet. And so it continues to mirror that state. This is why the same desire, repeated from the same feeling of lack, only strengthens the absence of what is desired. It is not because the law refuses to cooperate, but because it obeys too perfectly. Everything in existence vibrates. Every thought emits a frequency. The chair you sit on, the air you breathe, the emotions you feel, all are forms of energy moving at different speeds. The law of attraction is the bridge between these vibrations. It ensures that what you emit must return, not as punishment or reward, but as correspondence. It is a mirror without preference, incapable of deception. What you see outside is always the reflection of what you maintain within. To those who understand this, reality stops being a sequence of random events and becomes a canvas that faithfully mirrors consciousness. When there is inner harmony, harmony manifests externally. When there is fear, chaos appears. The world does not create itself. It expresses you. And when this realization settles deeply, the entire approach to life changes. You stop asking for life to change and begin changing the vibration from which life is seen. The first illusion that prevents one from mastering the law of attraction is the belief that they are powerless. This belief was not born from truth but from repetition. People are told from early on that they must earn good fortune through struggle, that life is hard, that dreams are unrealistic. And because belief is creative, these statements become self-fulfilling. A person conditioned to expect difficulty will find proof of it everywhere, not because the world is cruel, but because the mind can only perceive what it vibrates. The law of attraction does not choose sides. It amplifies assumptions. To believe in limitation is to attract limitation. To believe in abundance is to reveal abundance. Nothing outside of you holds power over what manifests. Circumstances are effects, never causes. When this is understood, dependence ends and mastery begins. The invisible field that surrounds everything responds instantly to the vibration of certainty. Time only exists for the mind that doubts. In truth, creation happens simultaneously. What you call the future is only a version of the present, aligned with a new vibration. To understand the law of attraction is to realize that nothing comes from outside. Everything emerges from within. The invisible precedes the visible, just as thought precedes action and emotion precedes experience. The outer world is not an independent structure. It is the crystallization of invisible energy that has taken form through consistent focus. That is why no prayer, no visualization, no affirmation can override the state you actually feel. If you speak abundance but vibrate scarcity, scarcity remains. If you speak love but vibrate loneliness, loneliness returns. The law cannot be deceived, because it does not interpret language, it reflects essence. To change your life, you must first change your inner state, not by force, but by awareness. What you sustain with feeling, you attract. What you fight against, you feed. What you accept as already done, you manifest effortlessly. Most people misunderstand the law of attraction because they attempt to use it to fix what they dislike. They try to manifest from resistance, but resistance is still attention, and attention is energy. The universe does not distinguish between wanting and worrying. It only knows focus. To think constantly about the absence of what you want is to energize that absence. To focus on what is missing is to guarantee its continuation. The key is not to wish harder, but to assume the feeling of already having. When your internal state matches the vibration of the desired outcome, it must appear. Not because you forced it, but because reality is compelled to mirror that vibration. This is not philosophy. It is law. The invisible field is neutral, but perfectly responsive. The more you try to control it with fear or effort, the more it mirrors struggle. The moment you rest in certainty, the invisible aligns with ease. To live by the law of attraction is not to manipulate reality, but to understand it. It is not about forcing outcomes, but about harmonizing vibration. The real work happens internally. You do not need to change the world. You only need to change the signal you emit. Life will reorganize accordingly. When you feel gratitude before seeing the result, when you act from peace instead of waiting for peace to come, the universe reads that frequency as completion. And completion attracts more of itself. The mind calls it coincidence. The awakened call it alignment. The process is the same, but the awareness makes the difference. Everything that exists is energy in motion, and consciousness is the force directing it. To master this understanding is to stop chasing results and start commanding with calmness. You stop being a seeker and become a creator. You realize that nothing external has ever had power over you. The cause was never out there. It was always your vibration. Everything in existence is vibration, but not every vibration carries the same intensity or clarity. Emotion is what gives vibration its strength. A thought alone is a spark. A feeling is the current that brings it to life. The universe responds not to the scattered chatter of the mind, but to the steady pulse of emotion that you maintain long enough for it to take shape. This is why fleeting wishes rarely manifest, but states of being always do. You can speak affirmations endlessly, but if the emotion behind them is uncertainty, the universe hears the uncertainty, not the words. The law of attraction does not measure effort. It measures resonance. It does not reward repetition. It mirrors conviction. The moment you feel something fully, you send out a command that reality must obey. That feeling is the frequency of creation itself. To understand how vibration becomes form, imagine the invisible field as a vast sea of unmanifested potential. Every possibility already exists within it. Every opportunity, every relationship, every version of your life. Nothing is missing. It only awaits selection. When you focus your emotion consistently on a certain outcome, you are choosing one version of reality from that sea and drawing it toward physical expression. This is why visualization, when done correctly, is not about imagining something as distant, but about feeling it as now. The rational mind sees imagination as fantasy, but to the universal law, imagination is creation in progress. What is vividly felt and sustained with emotion becomes inevitable. The invisible does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. It simply organizes itself around whatever you have emotionally accepted as true. This is the reason emotion must come before evidence. Most people wait for proof before allowing themselves to feel good, but this habit keeps them trapped in a loop. They postpone the vibration that would attract what they desire, believing they need the result first to feel the emotion. But the law of attraction inverts this logic. Feeling must precede manifestation because feeling is the signal that summons form. To wait is to vibrate absence. To feel now is to command presence. Every moment you feel appreciation, joy, certainty, or love without external reason, you are activating a frequency that must return to you multiplied. The universe cannot resist coherence. It must rearrange itself to match whatever vibration is most stable within you. If that vibration is doubt, you will receive situations that justify doubt. If it is faith, you will witness events that confirm faith. The world simply mirrors what you choose to sustain. To change your vibration is not to fight your current state, but to relax into awareness of choice. You are not bound by your emotions. You are their director. Each feeling you allow repeatedly becomes a tone that colors your entire experience. Fear distorts perception, showing only threats and scarcity. Gratitude expands vision, revealing opportunity and flow. Nothing external changes first. Perception does, and as perception shifts, reality reconfigures to match it. This is why the same event can appear tragic to one person and liberating to another. The difference lies not in circumstance but in vibration. When you realize that emotion is creative, you begin to treat it with reverence. You stop indulging in habitual negativity, not out of moral discipline, but because you understand its cost. Every emotion is an investment, and the return is always aligned with the vibration you send. There is a moment, quiet and subtle, when you begin to feel that your inner state carries more influence than outer events. At first the world may seem unchanged, but inside something stabilizes. You no longer react with the same urgency to what you see. You begin to sense that you are the still point around which reality moves. This is alignment, not an act of will, but a return to natural order. The outer world was never meant to lead. It was meant to follow. When you maintain a vibration of calm certainty, even in the absence of visible change, the universe starts to bend quietly toward that certainty. Life becomes less about control and more about trust. The need to force outcomes fades, replaced by a deeper knowing that the field is already adjusting to your inner state. You stop searching for signs because your peace becomes the sign. The invisible responds to this stillness with remarkable precision. It is important to understand that vibration does not depend on words or even deliberate thought. The universe reads your dominant feeling, not your declarations. You can say, "I am abundant," yet if you secretly fear lack, it is the fear that speaks louder. The frequency of fear carries more weight than the words of affirmation. This is why real transformation happens not through constant talking, but through quiet recalibration of the emotional tone you live in daily. It is less about doing and more about being. The universe does not respond to effort. It responds to essence. The moment your essence matches the frequency of what you desire, manifestation begins automatically. You do not need to visualize every detail. You only need to feel the reality of it as now. That feeling is the blueprint that instructs the invisible to assemble the corresponding events. The law of attraction operates through correspondence, not chance. Every vibration seeks its match. Just as a radio cannot receive a frequency it is not tuned to, consciousness cannot perceive opportunities outside its vibration. This means what you want may already exist in your field, but you cannot notice it until you tune to its frequency. The change happens not in the world, but in your perception. When your vibration shifts, what was invisible becomes visible, not because it appeared, but because you finally aligned with it. This is why sudden breakthroughs often follow periods of inner change. Not because the world suddenly offered something new, but because your consciousness opened to it. The door was always there. You simply had to tune in. This is also why emotion cannot be faked. You cannot pretend to believe while vibrating doubt. The invisible is sensitive beyond measure. It reads what you truly feel, not what you claim to feel. Authenticity is the most powerful alignment. When you are honest about your current state, you allow awareness to transform it. Denial only freezes the vibration you resist. Acceptance releases it. To move from fear to faith, from lack to abundance, begins with acknowledgement. This is what I feel, but it is not who I am. The moment you recognize that your feeling is temporary, you reclaim authority. You stop identifying with limitation and start observing it. Observation without resistance dissolves any vibration. It cannot survive your awareness. The more you practice this, the faster your vibration refines. You become lighter, calmer, clearer, and creation accelerates. The law of attraction rewards stillness more than struggle. It does not require rituals or complex methods. It requires coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions speak the same frequency, reality responds immediately. It may appear through coincidences, impulses, or quiet opportunities, but the effect is the same. Alignment becomes visible. Most people overlook these signals because they expect something spectacular. Yet the universe often whispers rather than shouts. It guides gently through intuition, synchronicities, and timing. When your vibration is clear, you notice them. When it is noisy with doubt, you miss them. This is not punishment. It is simply the nature of resonance. The invisible field cannot match confusion with clarity. It can only reflect what is consistent. Therefore, your most powerful work is not to ask or to wait, but to stabilize the frequency you wish to live from. When you master this, you understand that emotion is not a reaction. It is the origin of experience. You no longer depend on circumstances to dictate your mood. Instead, you select your vibration deliberately and watch life adjust to it. You realize that nothing external has meaning except the one you assign. Every situation becomes neutral until you decide its tone. In that moment of decision, the creative process begins again. The universe listens. It always has. It never stopped responding. It was only mirroring confusion back to the one who did not yet know their power. But once you remember that feeling is the signal, you begin to create consciously, effortlessly. You start to see that life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. The invisible field is always listening, waiting for your next vibration to command what comes next. To live in alignment with the law of attraction is to live consciously aware of your vibration. Alignment is not effort. It is remembrance. It is the state in which thought, emotion, and belief move in the same direction without resistance. When you are aligned, creation feels effortless. You no longer push reality. It flows through you. You no longer demand outcomes. They unfold naturally. But alignment cannot be forced. It arises when the mind stops fighting what is and begins to trust what is becoming. To align is to relax into truth. The truth that the universe is not against you, that every event is a response to a signal you have emitted, and that nothing external needs to change before you do. The process begins with awareness. You cannot change what you do not observe. Each time you catch yourself feeling frustrated, fearful, or doubtful, you are witnessing the vibration that has been creating your recent experience. There is no need to judge it. Observation alone weakens its hold. The moment you become aware, you have stepped out of unconscious creation and into deliberate creation. Awareness is the first movement of transformation. As you watch your inner state with neutrality, you stop fueling unwanted vibrations. They dissolve by lack of attention. The mind will attempt to pull you back into old stories, but you will notice that they are just echoes of past energy. Each time you choose calm over reaction, trust over fear, you refine your frequency. The invisible field responds immediately to this refinement. It starts aligning people, events, and circumstances to mirror your new state. Belief is the foundation of every vibration. The universe does not respond to words. It responds to what you truly believe to be possible. Belief is not an intellectual statement. It is a feeling of certainty so deep that the mind stops questioning. You can say, I am worthy. But if the feeling within contradicts it, the vibration of unworthiness remains dominant. To change belief, you must change feeling. You do not argue with old beliefs. You replace them with new experiences of emotion. The body does not learn through logic. It learns through sensation. When you begin to feel abundant, even before you see evidence of abundance, you are teaching the body a new truth. The more you repeat this emotional experience, the more the old vibration fades. Eventually, the new state becomes natural. It no longer feels like pretending. It feels like remembering. And when belief stabilizes, manifestation accelerates because the universe no longer receives mixed signals. Letting go is the turning point of every manifestation. Until this step, you are sending the signal. When you let go, you allow the response. Most people struggle here because they confuse letting go with giving up. To give up is to surrender to fear. To let go is to surrender to certainty. When you release the need to control how or when your desire appears, you are declaring absolute faith in the law. You are saying, it is already done, and I no longer need to monitor it. This trust opens the channel through which the invisible can become visible. Trying to control the process blocks the flow because control is born from doubt. The universe cannot deliver to a vibration that contradicts itself. When you let go completely, the field rearranges itself faster than you can imagine. It does not require your supervision. It requires your permission. And permission is granted the moment you rest in knowing that your desire is already a reality in the unseen. Letting go also means releasing attachment to outcomes. Attachment is disguised fear. The fear that if you do not hold tightly, it will slip away. But what you cling to vibrationally, you push away, because clinging vibrates lack. True creation requires emotional freedom. You must be willing to feel complete even before the manifestation appears. That completeness is the signal of abundance. The universe mirrors the state of already having, not the state of waiting. When you reach the point where you can say, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, I am still whole. You have transcended resistance. This is the vibration that draws everything you desire effortlessly, because you no longer need it to define your state. You have become the source rather than the seeker. Trust is the silent bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is not blind faith. It is awareness of the law. You do not need to know how the invisible arranges itself. You only need to trust that it does. The mind is impatient because it cannot see the invisible mechanisms working. It demands proof and in doing so interrupts the process. But when you trust, you communicate with the field in its own language. Stillness. Trust is energetic cooperation. It tells the universe, I am aligned. You may proceed. And the universe always proceeds. The reflection may not appear immediately, but that delay is not denial. It is synchronization. Life must align countless elements to deliver the exact reflection of your vibration. Your only task is to stay consistent in feeling while the universe organizes form. The most powerful moment in this process is often the quietest. The moment after you have felt the state of your desire and released it completely. In that silence, the invisible begins to move. You may not notice it at first because it often rearranges subtle details, but soon you begin to sense change. A call arrives, a thought appears, an opportunity surfaces. These are not coincidences. They are reflections forming. Your role is not to force them into meaning, but to recognize them as signs of alignment. The universe always confirms vibration through synchronicity. When you start to see patterns, repeating numbers, random alignments, it is not superstition. It is resonance becoming visible. It is the echo of your vibration returning as form. The practice of alignment also means acting from your assumed state. When you feel abundant, act like one who already is, not in pretense but in energy. Speak with confidence. Make decisions from wholeness. Give, even if little, with the feeling of plenty. Each action reinforces the vibration and tells the universe, this is who I am. The law responds to identity, not desire. When your behavior matches your vibration, the invisible accelerates into visibility. This is why small inspired actions carry immense power. They are not random. They are the physical expression of an inner command. When you feel the impulse to do something that feels aligned, follow it. It is the universe guiding you along the path of least resistance. Each step taken in faith is evidence that the vibration has stabilized. Patience is another form of mastery. The space between assumption and manifestation tests only one thing: your ability to remain in state. Doubt stretches time. Faith dissolves it. The universe delays only when your vibration wavers. When you remain calm, knowing it is already done, the reflection must appear. The physical world is always the last to move, but move it must. Reality cannot resist a vibration that has become dominant. When you stop searching for proof, proof appears. When you stop needing signs, signs multiply. The law does not respond to waiting. It responds to knowing. The difference between both is subtle yet absolute. One vibrates absence, the other completion. The moment you choose completion, the world aligns. When alignment becomes a way of being, rather than a technique, life transforms quietly. You notice that things begin to flow with less effort. People who once resisted now cooperate. Opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere. Even challenges soften because you no longer meet them from fear. You understand that every situation, pleasant or not, is an echo of a vibration you once emitted, now returning for integration. You meet it with awareness, adjust your vibration, and continue forward in peace. This is mastery, not control over life, but harmony with its law. The law of attraction ceases to be a concept and becomes the natural rhythm of your existence. You think, feel, and life responds. You no longer chase. You allow, and in that allowing, miracles become normal. There comes a moment when the invisible finally takes shape, and what once felt distant becomes your living reality. It never arrives with noise or ceremony. It simply appears as if it had always been there waiting for you to notice. You look back and realize that nothing truly changed except you. The vibration you sustained quietly, the emotion you nurtured in silence, has now become visible. The law of attraction was never a tool you used. It was the rhythm that life followed the entire time. When you align with it consciously, creation becomes natural, effortless, inevitable. The signs of alignment are simple. You feel lighter. Things that used to worry you lose importance. You no longer question timing because you trust the unfolding. Gratitude becomes your first instinct, not because you received something new, but because you finally see what was always present. The world softens around you because you stopped resisting it. What once felt random now feels orchestrated. What once felt uncertain now feels guided. You understand that every event, every person, every moment is a mirror responding to your vibration. You stop blaming. You stop fearing. You simply create. And when you reach this state, you discover that the purpose of the law of attraction was never to get things. It was to remind you of what you are. You are not a seeker begging for miracles. You are the source through which miracles are made visible. Every desire you hold is an invitation to remember your creative nature. When you think, feel, and allow, the universe moves through you as effortlessly as light through space. The reflection always obeys the state of the observer. The more certain you are within, the faster the world aligns without. The true mastery of this law lies in simplicity. Think with clarity, feel with sincerity, act with faith, and then let go completely. The rest is handled by the invisible field that never fails to respond. You do not chase outcomes anymore. You live as if everything is already complete. That is the highest vibration, not hope, but certainty. In that state, time collapses, resistance fades, and reality flows to meet you. So as you walk through your days, remember, the universe is not outside of you. It is within you, reflecting endlessly what you choose to sustain. Every thought is a seed, every emotion a command, every moment a mirror. Choose consciously, feel deeply, and trust completely. What you assume yourself to be, you become. And what you become, the world cannot help but reflect. That is the essence of creation, quiet, precise, and infinite. The law of attraction was never something to learn. It was something to remember. You were never separate from it. You are it.